Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, welcome. My name is EG and I am so glad that you stopped by. So as you can see by the title, we're diving a little bit deep this time, which is great because that's really the direction that I want to go in with this channel. For the past 2 years, I feel I've been very dedicated to just mental health and personal health. I've just been really dedicated to personal growth and just gaining more self-awareness. And one of the ways that I did that was actually by going to therapy. And I've been very transparent about it, I feel, on my Instagram. And I've actually gotten a lot of questions about that, about my journey, how I found my therapist and all that good stuff. So I figured that the first video kind of diving into this mental health umbrella would be a video about that. Basically, I'm going to be talking to you guys about my experience with therapy, how I found my therapist, how you can find yours, and a little bit about what you can expect before going in. Just a little bit of a disclaimer, I am not a mental health professional. I am not a licensed therapist. I am just a girl who went to therapy and who I feel has reaped the maximum amount of benefits that you could possibly reap from that. And I just think it's literally the best thing that you could possibly do for yourself. And I just want that for everybody. So if this is a journey that you feel like you want to dive into, then definitely keep watching. So how I found my therapist. Please keep in mind that I live in America. So if you don't live in America, the process for you is probably going to be very different, but I live in America and this is how I did it, how I found my therapist. I'm an international student at one of the big schools in Florida, and one of the requirements for international students is actually medical insurance. There is basically like a set minimum of coverage that you need, and mental health is one of them. So when I was ready to go to therapy, I basically just went through my insurance. I went on my insurance portal and I found out that they were affiliated with this thing called Grow Therapy. Grow Therapy is, maybe it's an agency, but it's definitely a website. It's a website that you can go on that basically connects you with therapists all across the country. As a matter of fact, their mission statement on their website is bridging the gap between therapists and people seeking mental health care. Basically, what I did was I went on the website, and the first thing that they ask you if you want virtual care or if you want in-person care. This is where my first tip for you is coming in, which is basically make sure that you consider your needs at that time. Because I personally went with virtual care just because I knew that the space that I was in at that time, I knew that I would definitely be the type of person who would cancel an appointment just because I just wasn't in a space where I could leave my house. So because I didn't want to do that, I opted for virtual care. If you feel like you're somebody you have to leave the house, then definitely you can go for in-person care. Grow Therapy has therapists that do both or therapists that do either or. So there's nothing to worry about in that way. So they're gonna ask you what state you're in, and then they ask you about your insurance. You basically tell them what insurance you have. They also have a cash option where you're able to pay out of pocket, which I didn't even know about. Obviously I have insurance, so I didn't do out of pocket, but if you don't have insurance and you want to pay out of pocket, you're able to do that. And they're going to ask you what type of specialties you would want your therapist to have. This is where my second tip is going to come in. You definitely don't want to go into therapy completely blindly. I would suggest that you have sort of an idea of like the type of issues that you want to address with the therapist. And I'm not saying that you need to know exactly what you want to talk about, because obviously a lot of times when we go to therapy, we're a little bit confused, but I feel like you definitely don't want to go in blindly. You kind of want to know what type of issues you want to address, because that's going to increase your chances at finding somebody that's right for you and for what you need. Personally, I knew that I wanted somebody who specialized in self-esteem and depression and family-related trauma, and that is exactly what I found. So before you go in, you want to make sure that you know a little bit about what you want to talk about, and you want to know what you want to get out of going to therapy. There's a lot of different specialties. There's specialties like ADHD, there's grief, there's sexual abuse, addiction, mood disorders, self-harm, peer relationships. There's really a whole bunch of specialties. That was just a little list, and there's a lot more. So once you do that, once you tell them what state you're in, what insurance you have, or whether you're gonna pay out of pocket, and what specialties you'd like your therapist to have, they will give you a list of hundreds of therapists in your state that can give you either virtual care or in-person care, depending on what you chose, and that can treat whatever specialties you listed. Once you have that list of results, you can actually add even more filters. You can narrow down your list by filtering through. The filters include gender, what your therapist or what the therapist identifies as racially, and the type of availabilities that you would want. So if you're somebody that you know you can only go in the morning, then you can say that, or if you can only go on the weekends, you can say that, and then you can add that as your filter, and that's going to narrow down your search. So once you've filtered everything through, that is when you're going to want to actually go through the list of therapists that they've provided. And what's really cool is each therapist kind of has their little profile, and you're able to read through the profile. Those profiles basically just give you a little bit more information about them. It'll tell you how long they've been practicing. It'll tell you what other specialties they have, because therapists usually have like dozens of specialties. They definitely have more than 3 or 4. It'll tell you like what age range they've worked with. It'll tell you when their next availability is, and it'll tell you what kind of accreditations they have. Now, I do want everybody to keep in mind that to be a licensed therapist, you have to have a master's degree. So in case you thought that like these people don't know what they're doing, they definitely know what they're doing, and they definitely want to be there. They want to help you. I'm gonna leave the link to Grow Therapy down below, down in the description box. It really is just growtherapy.com, and you can explore for yourself and decide for yourself if that's something that you want to do. There's also betterhelp.com. I personally don't have any type of experience with them, but someone that I know did tell me that they have experience with them and that they liked it. So I'm also going to leave that link down in the description, so that just in case you don't like Grow Therapy, or just in case you want an alternative, you will also have that down below. Now, what to expect in therapy, especially if you're going to go through Grow Therapy. Before your session, first things first is they're going to ask you to fill out a form. It's a very informal form. It's a form that's going to ask you to just tell them about yourself. It's just a form that's going to be able to tell your therapist a little bit about you before they get to meet you. They're also going to ask you like how you're feeling, if you're feeling a little bit sad, if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling depressed at all, or if you're feeling happy. It's going to ask you what brought you there and what you're looking to gain out of therapy. And they'll ask you a little bit about your story, and they'll also ask you specifically like what is something that you would want your therapist to know about you. My tip here for this form, and really for the whole process, be as open and honest as you can possibly be. This is how you're going to get the most out of your experience with therapy. If you're going to be a closed book, if you're not going to be honest, you're probably not ready for therapy yet, and you should maybe hold it off and just wait a little bit. But if you're going to go into therapy, the best way to get the best results is to be honest, be real. One thing to remember is that nobody's going to see that form, just you and your therapist. They're not legally allowed to speak about your business to anybody, so your information is safe. And again, these are people who have master's degrees. These are people who have put their time, their money, and their effort into helping people like you. So trust me, you want to be there, and they want to be there for you as well. And I'm not saying this to say that the first person that you meet is going to be the right person for you. Far from that. That might not be your experience, but I'm saying this just so that you're able to be open and honest with these people, because they want to be here. They want to help you. Please be honest about whatever brought you there in the first place. When you first meet your therapist, my experience was virtual. I went through virtual care, so I would imagine that actually meeting them in person is probably a lot more nerve-wracking. What you can expect still is a very friendly face who is just gonna talk to you like a normal person. Like, they're gonna talk to you just like if you went to college, like a professor would on the first day of class when they introduce themselves and tell you about themselves. Or like if you've ever had a job interview, kind of like how the interviewer will be like, hey, I am so-and-so. Don't imagine like an asshole though, like actually a nice person. And they're just gonna be friendly, tell you about themselves, and they're gonna ask you about yourself. And they probably are gonna ask you again to tell them like why you're here and stuff like that. And like, there is no shame to be had. There's not gonna be any pity. Again, these people wanna be here. They want to help you. They're gonna ask you to tell them a little bit about yourself. They're gonna ask you to tell them your story a little bit. Again, I would recommend that you are open and honest. Obviously, it is your choice what you choose to tell them and what you choose not to share with them. But again, if you want to have the most of your experience from the beginning, then you just want to be really open and honest about what brought you there in the first place. I know that it can be a little bit difficult, especially considering that it's the first time, but remember that this is their profession. So if it's a whole profession that exists where people are getting paid, it's probably because there is a need for it. There are a lot of people, not just you, who actually need help. There's no need to have any type of shame. First of all, nobody needs to know. If you don't want to tell anybody, if you don't want anybody to know that you're in therapy, you don't have to tell anyone. And also, please remember that we are all human beings. We all need a little bit of help sometimes. I'm sitting here telling you that I went to therapy. I went to therapy every single week for 9 months, and I'm sitting here telling you that it's okay. If anything, it's amazing. It's literally the best thing that you're ever gonna do for yourself. Now, again, I'm not a licensed professional. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not working in the field at all. Therapy is such a personal journey. It'll definitely depend on like what your cultural background is, where you're from, who your therapist is for sure, how they conduct their sessions and all that good stuff, and obviously how committed you are to it. So I don't think I can sit here and tell you how therapy is gonna be like for you, but I do think that I can tell you a couple things that therapy is not. First things first, therapy is not a diagnosis. Everybody that goes to therapy is not gonna come out with a diagnosis, and also you don't need to have a diagnosis to go to therapy. You don't even really need to know like what's wrong or like what's going on. You don't need to go to your therapist with a list of symptoms and be like, this is what happened, this is what happened, I had a panic attack, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I'm this. No. All you need to know is that life is fucking hard. All of us need some help at some point or another, whether it's from a friend, a parent, a sibling, or a therapist. Every single one of us needs some help. So you don't need to go into therapy thinking that, oh my God, it's like something is wrong with me, I'm gonna be diagnosed with some mental illness. No, you can just go to therapy to talk to somebody, and that's completely okay. Another thing that therapy definitely is not is therapy is not a cure. I don't think I need to sit here and tell you that going to therapy is definitely not going to get rid of all your problems in life. I know that you know that. At the end of the day, people are still gonna be assholes. If you don't like your job, you're still not gonna like your job. If you feel stuck in life, you're probably still gonna feel stuck in life. But what therapy is gonna help you realize is that the reason you feel stuck is not because you hate your job because your boss is an asshole. And what it's gonna help you process and then come to terms with is that you probably feel stuck because you hate your job, because you don't like what you do on a day-to-day basis. You don't like the industry that you're in. And it's gonna help you admit to yourself that you probably hate the fact that you've dedicated the past 10 years of your life in an industry that you don't even like and you don't feel fulfilled, and you probably need to leave your job if you want to feel happy and fulfilled in your life. That's a really hard realization to come to, and that's a really, really hard decision to make. Again, your therapist is not going to make that decision for you. What your therapist is going to do though is guide you towards making the decision that you deep down know you want to make. At the end of the day, therapy will help you better process life. It'll help you gain better control of yourself in a world that is so uncontrollable and so unpredictable. Now, the third thing that therapy definitely is not just talking about your feelings. There definitely is a lot of that, but honestly, most of the work that you do in therapy, you do outside of therapy. Like, you don't do it at your therapy session. If you have a good therapist, your therapist is definitely gonna give you homework, and you have to do your homework. You're not gonna wanna do the homework because it's probably gonna require you to be a version of yourself that you don't feel like you're ready to be. And you're probably gonna have to like make some decisions that you don't wanna make, and you're probably gonna have to make some reflections that you've been like pushing and holding off for a very, very long time. But honestly, that's what therapy is. That's where all of the work is done. And that work, you do it yourself. That work is done outside of therapy. But it's best to do it when you're in therapy, because then you have that support. You have an actual professional who is there to support you when things get difficult. I know that I said that I can't tell you what therapy is going to be like for you, because I actually can't. I have no idea what therapy is going to be like for you. I don't know how dedicated and how committed you're going to be. I don't know how honest you're going to be. I don't know who your therapist is going to be. I only know my experience. But what I do know that therapy is for all of us is that therapy is fucking hard. It's hard as hell. Like I said before, therapy is definitely gonna require you to make some reflections that you've been holding off. It's definitely gonna require you to be a version of yourself that you are probably not ready to be. It's going to require you to revisit the past, revisit some of the most traumatic experiences of your life that you've been holding off and that you've been ignoring for a long time. What therapy is gonna do is therapy is going to make you finally open that door that you have in your mind, that I know that you have, that you literally never open. You walk past it every single day. The only time that you open that door is when you're opening it to shove some more stuff in it, and then you close it and you lock it with your 12 different locks. No. Therapy is going to make you open that door, and you're gonna walk right into it, and the lights are gonna be turned off, and you're gonna be fucking terrified. But that is where all the work happens. That is where all the magic happens. At the end of the day, you have the answers. Your therapist doesn't have all the answers specific to you. Only you have them. Your therapist can ask you the questions. He can guide you. He or she can guide you in the direction of the answers, but only you have the answers. And I'm sorry to tell you, but those answers, they're in that room. You're gonna have to go in there. You're gonna have to open that door and figure out the root of the problem and figure out why the problem is a problem to even begin with. Another reason therapy is really, really difficult, honestly, is because at some point you're going to have to face the fact that you have played an important role in your unhappiness and why you feel stuck. And that's a very, very, very hard pill to swallow. And I promise you there's gonna be a lot more hard pills to swallow, but it's so worth it. Again, I really believe that therapy is literally the best thing that you could possibly do for yourself. I think therapy helps you master yourself. It helps you master your emotions. It helps you master your self-esteem, honestly. It helps you master yourself in a world that is incredibly unpredictable and uncontrollable. And it helps you be able to control the one thing that you can control, which is you. It helps you be able to be so incredibly self-aware, which is definitely something that you want if you want to be able to master peace. You want to be able to trust that you can make the decisions that are going to bring you peace. And to be able to do that, you have to reach a level of self-awareness that is unmatched, you know? And I'm saying this knowing very well that life continues to happen and things are continuously thrown at you, and you know, people change over time and all that good stuff, but you'll always have just a base. You'll always have a place to start, and you won't just completely be lost. Obviously, going to therapy has so many benefits, and I plan on making a whole other video about that. So if you feel like you need a little bit more convincing, be on the lookout for that video. But if you are on your way to therapy, I just want to tell you, I'm so freaking excited for you. Like I said, it is going to be very, very hard, honestly, but it's so worth it. As we all know, nothing worth having comes easy. Everything in life is hard. So you can either decide to stay stuck or go through a period where it is going to be hard, but you're probably going to end up feeling the most powerful and the most confident that you've ever felt in your life. Personally, going to therapy is the best decision I have ever made in my whole adult life. It has helped me to see the world in such a positive light. It's helped me to understand myself a lot more and to understand other people. It's helped me to form stronger relationships with other people. It's helped me to set stronger boundaries for myself. It's helped me to get rid of so much insecurities and so much shame, to the point where I am literally the most confident and the most empowered I have ever felt in my entire life, all because I went to therapy. Now, I know a lot of people have a lot of different feelings about therapy, and I feel like those are all really truly valid. I do feel like the only way for therapy to actually work for you, you have to surrender. You can't go in thinking oh, therapy is stupid. And even if you do think therapy is stupid, give it your all anyway. Be open and be honest anyway, because that is the only way that it's gonna work for you. And it's your time and it's your money. So if you're gonna go to therapy, give it your all. Literally, really, truly surrender to the method. I'm telling you, therapy is the best thing I've ever done for myself. It's helped me get out of these very, very dark places in life. And if you're in that same space, I really, really want that for you. I really, really do. With that being said, that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video at all, make sure to let me know down in the comments and leave me a like. If you feel like there's anything that I missed, make sure to let me know down in the comments. If you feel like there's anything that you want me to talk about, You know what to do. I will try my best to help you out. Literally, if there's anything that you just want to tell me, just tell me down below in the comments. Again, thank you so much for watching. If you have not subscribed, make sure to subscribe and leave me a like. That really helps me out, and I will see you guys next Monday. Bye.